Yoga instructor, Reiki master,
Yes,
etc.
etc. Exactly. Yes, etc. It's becoming more and more of, like 2 years ago when COVID hit and I wasn't driving around teaching everywhere, I finally said to myself, I need to teach what has helped me so much in my life. And so I found a way of teaching Reiki. I ended up, I don't know how the people came, but they just ended up coming. So I think I was guided to do that, because it was funny because the classes at Yoga Works where I have been teaching since 99, they didn't have any classes for me all of a sudden. And I was like, what? I'm a master teacher. I've been teaching teachers trainings, and my ego was like broken. And then I was like, but then everybody started to come to the yoga, the Reiki trainings. So I was really guided. And then I said, you know what? I said a long time ago, I'm on my path. I'm just sticking on my spiritual path, and that's it. And the minute I really said that, something happened, and I'm really guided. And sometimes it's wonderful, and sometimes is challenging, so to say.
Well, that's where the growth is in the challenges, right?
But you kick and scream for a moment, then you're like, okay, I get it. I have to stretch further and further and further. So that has been my experience, and I'm so grateful for you, Peter.
How did you find me? Yeah.
Well, I was guided. I was guided. It was interesting. I've been working with a teacher for several years, and I became a shaman, a mystical shaman. She's a PhD Jungian who was awakened, but she was teaching me a lot of Tantra. And just understanding the different levels of where we, how we exist and how we are. And, I was kicking and screaming most of the way, but I know that she did teach me something. And she was really teaching me to step through the threshold and become the creator of our life.
Yeah, good.
I'm ever grateful, and she was a wonderful teacher. But I found you on YouTube, and there you were, and I really enjoyed the way you're teaching in such depth, and you were really methodically. I could really feel your energy like through my body when you were talking about the different masters. You were really teaching how you can find the energy within you. So I recognized that from my other teacher, like we are resurrected from within, and we become who it is that we are learning from through the masters. And you taught me that. I was walking in Hawaii, where my daughter 3 years ago was studying. She didn't end up continuing there, but I remember, because the path I was walking on, I was listening to you, and I was like, wow, he's teaching me so much. I don't know if I'm just ready for it, or or it's just the time when I'm traveling. It was like I was like in a different level. And 3 or 4 days ago, me and my daughter took a road trip, and we went to look at other schools. And I knew that I was going to be guided to something, because I was like, oh, I'm going here. I might be guided to something. It's so exciting. And I was going to a spot outside Santa Cruz, which we drove. It's called the Mystical Spot. It's just like a very interesting warp hole where the energy from the earth is super powerful. So I thought that something would happen there but then I forgot about it and nothing really happened, but it was a beautiful hike and an extraordinary experience. But we drove up the next day to San Francisco, and all of a sudden I hear Muir Woods, Muir Woods, Muir Woods. I was like, oh, Muir Woods is, oh. And I said, oh, Emma, we have to go to Muir Woods. And I was so excited because I had listened to how you had been connected with Peter Shasta there.
Saint Germain.
Yeah, it's saying, oh yeah, hello, I'm talking to you. It's so much energy coming through now. I'm being a little bit ungrounded. Yes, so Saint Germain, and now we were going to go there. But we ended up just driving through because we didn't have a ticket. And I just knew, oh, I'm supposed to listen to Peter Shasta and Saint Germain again. So I started to listen to your videos. And now you were teaching more of the tantric, more of the Buddhist.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I know all this. So I said, I'm going to write him an email because you know what? He's a human too.
Yeah, exactly.
So I wanted to share.
Thank you.
Share.
Thank you. Well, you know, these teachings are very ancient, you know, even like they say, oh, the I am teachings of Saint Germain that were given through Godfrey Ray King in the 1930s. They thought that was something new, but that's very ancient. He's just giving it in English for the first time, you know, but that's just one small part of the vast spiritual teachings, you know.
Yeah.
That we live in a sea of consciousness, you know. And what happened, first of all, well, when you say I am, that's God in action, you know. But now Saint Germain is pushing me more to say, find out who is I. When you say I am, who is that I? Do you know what I mean? It's not the ego, me, Peter, or Carolina. That's just the human self. Who is the I? The I that I am and the I that you are. It's all part of the ocean of consciousness, you know?
Yeah.
So if we can tune into that, that makes big difference. So I'm bringing in more of the Eastern teachings, you know, to connect with the affirmation work, you know?
It is so powerful. And the way that you were doing the affirmations, it finally clicked in because I always thought it was so ego driven of these I am affirmations before I learned from you to really feel it and become it from your heart first. Yeah. And then when you say it, it's like a calming, wonderful knowing feeling as opposed to like a stressful, crazy feeling in your head, in your mind. So yeah, so that I love how you teach it. Look, I have the picture there and also here. And it just really was so powerful for me to listen to this awareness again, because I had a question for a very long time. And I was working with the Metatron's cube. You know, it has all the shapes and forms. Maybe I can show one at the moment. But then I had a realization that the Metatron's cube is the I am presence. Oh. And I could see they're all the essential. Let me show here. This is what my realization was. You know, there's so many circles here. First of all, it's just 13 circles. Well, you can barely see these, but I just felt, okay, so this must be the I am presence. This is, and then we want to come into experiencing life on earth. And all these circles, they hold a different sacred geometry, which are the different shapes and chakras in our bodies. And then I felt like the outer 6 circles are representation of maybe the 12 masters of the archangels, you know, because it's just the feminine and the masculine. That's how I saw it. And then I thought about the I am presence, so that has the ball of light with the rainbow colors around it, I'm thinking, oh, well, that is the chakras, the experiences that we had through our different lives. And then when we are ready to be realized, we just go into the center, like the bindi in the, Sri Yantra, and take this fractal, and we're back into the realization.
Mhm.
I had a wonderful experience. I did a meditation on that myself, and I just felt, wow, very connected. So you could maybe see
Mhm.
that is also part of the sea of consciousness.
Sure.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't work so much with the symbols, uh, just more with the inner light, and also with tantric visualization, like to visualize the goddess, like Mother Mary or Kuan Yin or Tara or something. And, then you realize that's a part of yourself and you become that. And then you emanate that, then you dissolve that, so on. It's interacting with consciousness, but, in the duality, but seeing the duality as a projection of yourself in a sense, But I like to say, when I met Saint Germain in Muir Woods, this was a real physical thing. That, I was not taking drugs or anything like that. I had been living with a yogi in the Himalayas. Now, his guru was Babaji, Yogananda's guru. And when he met Babaji, he was in downtown Delhi, and Babaji put his arm around him, transported him in the physical body to the Himalayas. And I was guided to this man, and I wanted to just live there. I wanted to become a sadhu, and spend the rest of my life there as a yogi. But that was not my destiny. I was sent back to the West, so I found myself in Berkeley. I was living on Jayutal's floor in Berkeley. I mean, just a few nights I was camped there. And this ball of light came into the room and said, "Go to Muir Woods, I will meet you there." And I said, well, I don't know what that was, but I'm going there, So this yogi in the Himalayas was getting ready to leave his body consciously. These yogis can do that. When they're finished, they just say, "Okay, I'm going now." And I said, that sounds like a good idea. I finished everything here I want to do, So I went out to Muir Woods thinking I would just ask to leave my body, and I found this hollow redwood tree to get out. It was raining, and I didn't really believe there was anybody up there that knew about me. I believed in God, but the idea of the masters taking care of us, I didn't really believe that, but I thought I should pray to them anyway. So I prayed to Jesus and Mary and, Sai Baba. And I did mention Saint Germain, I'd heard of him. And I said, show me if there's some reason to stay on earth. Otherwise, I want to leave, So the next thing I know, there's a man standing in front of me. I mean, if he had walked up through the forest, I would have heard him coming, but there was no sound. And suddenly they're just 2 feet in front of me. And I look up and there's a young guy about my age wearing jeans and everything. But yeah, he said, "Peter, I have come to answer your prayer." And I said, well, it's the first time in my life a prayer has been answered. And he said, "I am the part of the Godhead that has been sent to answer your prayer." And he said, "You can leave your body if you want. You finished enough of your karma to do that. And I will help you. But before you give me your answer, I want to show you something." So he took me out of the physical body and we went up above the earth, and it was just a realm of bliss where beings existed as the I am presence, like just balls of light giving off beautiful rainbow colors. And there was just a feeling of tremendous joy and bliss, And I said, this is it. This is where I want to be. But then I heard just crying coming from someplace. And I said, what is that terrible sound? And I looked down and I could see the earth, this little blue ball beneath my feet. And he said, that is the suffering of humanity. And the masters hear that all the time. and I could hear all the prayers and just the sadness and the crying. And my heart just went out and said, oh, I want to go back and help. And he smiled. He said, you made the right choice. Now we'll be working closely together. But before you can be of real service, you need more training. I want you to go back to Mount Shasta, and there's a teacher waiting for you there. And the first person you meet there will tell you what to do next. So then he said, now I'll show you who I really am. And he took a few steps back and he turned into this master.
Wow.
I'd seen him in the front of Unveiled Mysteries. I was a guest of the Theosophical Society in India, and I had found Unveiled Mysteries there. So I recognized that was Saint Germain. Then he faded out. He just became invisible, like Obi-Wan Kenobi, you know?
Wow.
And I felt like I've been just struck by lightning. It was I was so energized. I got in my car and I drove straight to Mount Shasta. Somehow I got here in 2 hours. It's normally a 5 or 6 hour drive from Muir Woods. So people were, you know, it must have been 9 o'clock when I left Muir Woods and I got to Mount Shasta at 11. People were just having, you know, brunch. It was like, you know, and a guy walked up to me, a young guy, and he said, you were supposed to meet this lady by the name of Pearl. And he owned a health food store and he had a phone. He said, come on over after breakfast. So I went over and I called up this lady Pearl and she said, come right up. So I got to her house and there was this sweet little lady, looked like Yoda kind of, you know. And she said, I've been expecting you. And I said, how could you be expecting me? We've never met before. And she said, the Master Saint Germain came to me this morning and said he was sending you to see me. So then she said, what brought you here? And I said, well, this guy appeared to me in Muir Woods. And she said, well, you know who that was, don't you? And she pointed to the picture of Saint Germain, you know. So I ended up studying with her about, well, I knew her for about 10 years before she ascended, but I worked with her very intensively for about three to 5 years, you know.
What did she, I'm looking for, you know, then a teacher, like a guide. My other teacher, she did guide me to certain places. I know that I am my own guide, you know, too. And, you know, just to hear you say that story, for me, it means so much because, you know, I've always been guided as well, but to hear it from you, I've heard it so many times, but I love it. Like I could hear that every day because it just brings that feeling of hope, you know, of connection. Oh, I'm getting more emotional. But really to have a teacher that can really show you somebody that you trust, that is such a blessing, you know. I'm looking for one of those. Maybe you will help me.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, thank you.
Well, I'm here just to, you know, reflect to you what you are really. You know, in Buddhism, they call that the Vajra Guru. It's everywhere, you know?
Yeah.
And of course, there are lots of people who want to be gurus, you know? And so, you know, maybe for every 10 people or 9 people want a guru, there's one person wants to be a guru, so they kind of work that out. But still, at some point, you realize that person maybe can't teach you the next step. You know what I mean?
And, you know, and that's what I really felt. I felt like I learned so much and I was ever so grateful, but we're all humans too. So, you know, it depends. Like I felt, you know, I learned very much and I'm ever grateful, but there was something else. There was something more that I needed. And then, you know, I've worked with other awakenings and so on and so forth, but really a guide through the life from somebody who has also lived it or are living it. That is a beautiful blessing, I believe, you know. And
well, that's why I share my experiences, you know, and meditations on YouTube, and I don't charge for that. They're just on YouTube, you know. I should call it iTube, not YouTube, you know, like, or I am tube or something.
Yeah, I am tube.
Yeah. The problem is we live in the age. What's that?
Oh. Yeah, that is how I found you.
Oh, yeah, yeah. We live in the age of instant gratification. You know, people say, well, I downloaded the app on my phone and it promised me this, and I want it now and I want it to work and bang like that. So enlightenment and mastery is not instant gratification. You know what I mean? You don't just take a
I
workshop
know.
and
No,
then you've got it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So it takes hard. I mean, I have 50 years of meditation and a lot of sitting practice, just looking at myself, examining myself, what do I need to work on, and learning to get rid of extraneous things and heal inner wounds and things like that. And that's hard work and it's slow, but then sometimes you have a lightning realization. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You never know when that's going to be, but still you have to sit and do the inner work. And a lot of people these days don't want to do it. They just say, I'm going to make some sounds, or I'm going to wave my hands, or I'm going to say a mantra, and or put a fancy name on it, and then I'm going to give workshops. And it's like the Hollywood approach to spirituality. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just doesn't do it,
It doesn't do it.
Oh.
Exactly. I remember clearly when even I came to yoga the first time, I asked Mati, who was my teacher, and Lisa Walford, who's still with us. Mati has passed over. I just knew she probably went in a higher dimension, but I was in downward facing dog and I was like, wait, I have a body. I didn't even realize that I had a body before that. I was like, oh, wow, I'm in a body. And, and it was like, wow. And I was really upset with my teacher because I kept asking, wait, when I do yoga, I feel wonderful. I'm connected. But then after yoga, I'm like, I feel too good to exist in life. So I had panicked and I was like, I had to go and be nervous again. So I had to go and drink a lot of coffee. So I just felt like normal. Yeah. And I'm like, how is it that I feel, so good then, and then I feel horrible after? Well, she never really answered that question, but it started my understanding that I have a body, first of all, and it's through the body where we awaken. And that is including looking at yourself and looking at your wounds and so on, which is really not for the faint-hearted ones. It takes tremendous courage.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, when I was actually lived in Berkeley for a little tiny bit when I was 2 years old. Oh. My father was studying his doctor's there to become a professor. And I was very ill as a child. I got very sick. I had something that was called double reflux, where the the urine from bladder went up into the kidneys. And my parents, knew, mom and dad, they didn't know what to do. So they eventually took me to the hospital in Berkeley, the Children's Hospital. I vaguely remember it. I was only 2, but they said, okay, we know how to do this operation when you fix the uterus. So they called the hospital in Sweden and they sent back and they did the first operation on my body, on me, when I was 2 years old. And I remember, laying there in the hospital bed, and they told my parents, oh no, it's better she just stays by herself and she'll be fine. And then I was 2 and I was not fine. No. And, and I remembered, I said, yeah, there's a phone. You can call somebody if you need help. And I don't even know if I barely talk, but I took the phone and, nobody came. And I felt so traumatized and left alone. And then I was one nurse, at the night, they came in, they took the temperatures in the butt, but she didn't put the Vaseline and just and I was like, that hurts. I was so angry, Yeah. Yes. And then I remembered I had all these tubes coming out of me and I would ride around on the tricycle. And they were like, oh, look, she's so good. She's riding on the tricycle. And I was, oh, they want me to play happy. So, and then that pattern came on, I was
Yeah,
like, oh
yeah.
my gosh. So it
Hmm.
started early for me, these realizations. And now you have to like, you know, do a lot of work of that I'm safe, I'm loved, I'm cared for, all this meditation on healing those traumas.
Mm.
Um, but it started early for me going
Yeah.
through with this. And it was interesting because after I had my first daughter 21 years ago, I had my kidneys were starting to act up again. And I went into the hospital here at Cedar Sinai in Los Angeles and I had operation. They tried to fix it, with so much scar tissue. So they were going to do 2 different operations. And I woke up on the operating table. And I was thinking, being from Sweden, first of all, I heard ABBA, the Swedish group ABBA, blasting so loud. And I was thinking, what the heck is going on? And I thought, is it me laying on the operating table? I was and the doctor there and the other one who puts you under. And I said, this is so strange. And I told myself, I'm going to remember this, that they were blasting ABBA. And then whoop, they're like, patients awake, patient awake. And then whoop, I went back into my body and like, oh, all that hurt, And after you come out of where how to put it to sleep, how you put to sleep, you're a little bit groggy. But I kept asking, wait, did you play ABBA loud? And why are you playing it so loud? And I thought that the doctors first didn't really believe that I was aware. But then eventually I asked the doctor and he said, oh yeah, as a matter of fact, we did, because the gentleman, the doctor who put you under, he liked loud music. And I was like, wow, that's so weird. But, that's how you start to understand that you are not your body, but you
Yeah.
have a body. And it's a blessing to have a body. But that's how I started to figure it out.
Right.
And when you really taught this beautiful teaching of our physical body, of our soul light body, how we are expanded,
Yeah.
when we go into our Christed expanded body, and then the spirit body, the higher self, the light. So when you did that explanation, I had actually brought back that picture. And now we're back in this time. A couple of weeks before I went on the trip now with my daughter to Santa Cruz, when I heard Muir Woods, Muir Woods. And I was thinking, wait a minute, I don't get it. How is it? I can't remember. And then I turned on the YouTube again, who is my friend apparently, and you described this. And that one video I turned on, and it was so approving and wonderful, because this is the spiritual school. It's our life and our body.
Yeah. You see, my first experience of samadhi was actually doing hatha yoga. That's kind of how I got started on the spiritual path, because I didn't really believe in God. I grew up, my father was a scientist, and I only believe what is solid, what I can test, what I can see under the microscope. And I tested God, and God did not appear, things like that, So I did hatha yoga just for my health, so it would be good for you. I was living in New York City. So I was studying hatha yoga with Swami Satchidananda.
No way.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
he had a place on, I think, 11th Street or 8th Street, something like that in the village. He was this beautiful guy. He gave the opening prayer at Woodstock, And I came home, he taught the basic stuff, and they said, this is only for the physical body, to get you ready for Raja Yoga, meditation stuff. But I went home, and the first day I practiced my set of asanas. Of course, the last pose is savasana, corpse pose, where you're lying down, And I went into samadhi like I was there was no Peter. There was just consciousness, existence, bliss, and light, and the sound of like Om going through the whole universe. But there was no me, it was just pure consciousness and bliss. And what brought me out of that was the phone rang and it was the wrong number. That happened to me twice, where the phone rang when I was in samadhi. It was to bring me back, and both times it was the wrong number. Do you know what I mean?
Next time, don't answer.
But that showed me what is there, and even doing hatha yoga, you can have these experiences,
Yeah.
So that was a gift of grace. It was not something really I did. I think the masters or my I am presence said, we want to show Peter like the end of the path. This is what you're working for, to be able to attain this,
Yeah.
But of course, if you're in that, you can't really help other people, So the key is how you have access to that, but you can still function in duality. It's called relative reality, like if you get in a taxi and you want to ride, you don't want to invite a taxi driver who says, I can't distinguish between left and right. It's all one to me, so forget it. I'll take another taxi. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
I
you have
totally.
to learn to function in both realities,
Yes.
So,
Yeah. Oh, wow. That is amazing. Yeah, I'm, after 25 years of practicing the physical asana,
yeah.
very scarred, I would think,
Oh,
upbringing. It's been so difficult for me to really look at me and who I am as a human, form. And so I'm thinking I'm really starting um, to be ready to sit still, because I would ride my bike and meditate. I would do yoga and meditate. But the real sitting, I was never taught um, in an appropriate way. So that's where I'm interested in going now, because I'm ready. And, I've had several spiritual awakenings, and I popped out of my body several times and thought that was like, whoa, it's intense, because you think your world as you know it, like gravity goes away, and you're feeling like, wait a minute, how do I now get back in there? It actually happened at Hollywood Bowl.
oh,
At one point, I was there with my husband, and I was doing a lot of spiritual work. Well, some meditation, but guided meditations with my teachers, awakening certain understandings of the different bodies. I did chanting. I chanted, the Shakti bodies, Om Maria Chit Shakti, I Nama A. For example, I become the space that is, or however you want to translate it, which is very much from the tantric practices. We did that 108 days of all the 5 different Shakti bodies, the rainbow bodies. But we went there. We were supposed to meet our friends. It was me and my husband, and I don't drink alcohol. Like, I just kind of stopped because I thought it was too complicated and too draining and too confusing, because it doesn't serve me at all. So I stopped. But that time I had a glass of spumante, like some Italian, and it wasn't even that good. But I got so drunk, I think, or whatever happened, I popped out of my body, and I was up at the Hollywood Bowl, and I could see everything. And I was like, wow, this is fantastic, But I was like so up. And then I thought, oh, wait, how do I get back into my body again? So I got a little bit scared.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm thinking, wow, that was probably not the correct way to do it, but it maybe was a way to know that it's at least possible to go there. So that was like my popping out of the body experience. And I was happy, but I was slightly concerned of how to get back into my body. And when I admitted that I was concerned, all of a sudden I was back, but I was, you know, very in my body, but not in control of my body. So that was also interesting. Um, so yeah,
Well,
those
you know,
my
one thing
experiences. Yeah.
I was going to just share, one thing people can do now, we're in very unusual times, you
Yeah.
know, where it's not just life is normal, you know. And so there's a kind of, you know, like heaviness in the air. Do you know what I mean? It's all the anxiety people have and things like that, you know. And we can be like, we can transmute that, you know, like right there, you can clear the aura of Pasadena, you know, not just that, but the whole LA basin, the whole world even, by, you know, going within, seeing the light, saying, I am the light going out, I am love, you know, I am violet fire going out, dissolving that. So it's almost like, you know, the Buddhist practice of Tonglen, where you don't want to take on the other people's suffering, but you're aware of it. So you're aware of the heaviness, and it's kind of like then you exhale light into that, into the heaviness. Do you know what I mean? So you breathe in, you feel the heaviness, then you breathe out light, joy, love, you know? And, you know, just even sit in your room doing that, it's very satisfying, and it's uplifting for you, because what you give to others, you're receiving back 10 times as much, you know?
Let's do it. Do you want to do a meditation?
Yeah, well, what I like, what Pearl showed me is this kind of, I call it the looking or open eye meditation, you know? Now, I met Ananda May Mai, you know, the Indian saint that Yogananda talked about. You know her?
Oh, oh,
Ananda
you
May
met
Ma.
her? Oh,
She's in
wow.
Autobiography of a Yogi. I met her 4 times, 3 times one-to-one, right on the, you know, on the street, you know?
Really? I
Oh,
have,
yeah, yeah. Well, there's a picture in his book of the two of them together.
ah,
And she was just naturally in that state of the oneness, but also emanating divine love, you know? And the one time I met her, I was in a rickshaw and she was on the street, and I passed her and she looked at me. And in that look, I knew she was seeing God, you know? And it opened my heart, and I went, oh, you know, like they say, namaste, that means the God in me honors the God in you, you know? And, but she had the reality of that, you know? I could see the God in her was honoring the God in me, and I really felt the God in my heart. So I went back to the little house that I was renting with the rest of the Maharaji people. And for 3 days, I just meditated on, I meditated on that feeling in my heart that she gave me, you know? And later, it was like, I think about a year, maybe 2 years later, I met Pearl, and she taught me how to do that consciously, you know, with the eyes open. Just first you tune in, you know, to the love in your own heart, you know, and just feel, I am the living light. You first see the light in yourself, like a sun there, emanating light, and your body is sort of translucent, you know? But do it with your eyes open. And, you know, you can let your eyes go out of focus, but when you keep them open, it completes the circuit. You know what I mean?
okay, I see.
So you see the light in your heart, I see the light in my heart, and then there's really no space, like I'm there in the room with you. And, you know, the light, there's light going from my heart to your heart and from your heart to my heart. So I say, you know, I am the living light going from my heart to your heart, and you saying silently the same thing. We just sit in that and feel that love, you know? Yeah. So you just lit up, your whole body lit up.
Feels good.
So I can think, I am the presence of God blessing Carolina, and you can say, I am the
I
presence of God blessing Peter, or I
Peter.
am the goddess blessing Peter,
Am the goddess blessing Peter.
See, I just hit my heart. I felt that,
Ah, so beautiful.
Or I can say, I am divine love flowing forth to Carolina and into the whole world,
I am divine love flowing through me, through Peter, through the whole world.
And you can see like it's gold here, but then it's becomes pink light going out,
Yeah, and my eyes are really blurred.
Yeah. See, this is the Immaculate Heart of Mary. You see those statues, those pictures of Mary, she opens up her chest, you see her heart, she's trying to get the message out. It's in here. This is the heart of the Christ. This is the heart of the Divine Mother. Doesn't matter whether you're in a male body or female, you can still have the Divine Mother within you.
Yeah, I feel that strongly, that love that we can have, that we all are. Why don't we teach this to all our children in school?
Yeah, well, you can do it. This is December 10th. December 13th is supposed to be Mother Mary's, I think Our Lady of Guadalupe. It's a special day for Mother Mary, December 13th.
Yeah, we celebrate in Sweden.
You
Sancta
do?
Lucia. Yeah, the Sancta Lucia, where we celebrate the Divine Feminine. But I don't think too many Swedish people know it, but we have a celebration where we have candles in our hair and we walk around and we sing this beautiful song, and we give out gingerbread cookies to everyone, the sweet. And that's a celebration of this. I just had my birthday, December 7th.
Oh, happy birthday. Great.
Yeah, and December 8th, I did this wonderful ritual that I was guided to do, that I was in Shasta. Just, I wasn't there, but it was like spiritual. It was so powerful and it was so wonderful. And now I'm talking to you the next day, Peter on Shasta. It's very beautiful. I'm so grateful.
See, a lot of the world's religions are patriarchal, they're all oriented around death, like prepare for death, which is good to contemplate that. So there's no, like you get rid of attachments and you realize that a lot of what we think is important is not important. But then the other side, the Divine Mother, it's natural for a mother to be attached to her children. You don't tell a mother, don't be attached to your children,
Yes.
So when you have love, you want to nurture, whether it's flowers or plants or a dog or, to be involved and to be committed, that's also the spiritual path. So detachment is one part, attachment is the other, but you can still, every mother has to learn detachment. You have to let your children go at some point, but you are still always connected with your child. They found in the blood, there's like little radio transmitters between the mother and the child. So the mother always senses what's going on with the child, you know?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I know that. I knew that with my children. I have 3 children. And
Yeah,
I always know where they are. I always know how they're feeling. And I always send them love. When I do my sessions,
beautiful.
I always, send them that energy
Yeah.
to my house and my husband and, family, loved ones, neighborhood. Um, you really
See,
go,
like the masters look at us, we're their children in a sense, you know? So you
"Mm,
wouldn't want them to be non-attached, to say, oh, that's just humanity, let them do their thing, that would be non-attachment. But no, we want them to care about us and to be attached.
yeah, oh, I love that. That's beautiful. I have to tell you one thing that happened that was also one of these incredible realizations. My husband's best friend was passing over. He was in a cancer
Yeah.
hospital here, and he was really sick. And I was doing Reiki on him, and I had received this selenite stick with Om Mani Padme Hum
Mm.
engraved in it.
Mm.
And I was standing here doing, and I said, "Oh my God, am I being called?" And I called my husband and said, "Oh, honey, I'm coming to the hospital. I'm being like called. Like
Mm.
I have to go. I have a very strong feeling. I have to go." He's like, "No, no, no, stay home with the kids." And I said, "Oh, I'm calling your mom. She can come over and take care." They're 21, 18, and 15. So they're fine. But I went there and I was like, whoa, what is it that am I supposed to do? And I brought this selenite stick of Om Mani Padme Hum. I've heard this actually 2 days before that. I had woken up and chanted Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. And I'm thinking, wow, this is interesting. Sometimes that happens. But when I went into the hospital, I said, okay, I guess I'm going to give Reiki or something. But I became so big and like really expanded. I'm thinking, wow, what is happening? I felt like I was taking on one of the masters, and I thought it was in my Christ body. I thought it was, you know, um, the master Joshua or Jesus Christ came around me. And I walk into the hospital and I see my husband, I see all the family, I see my husband's friend who was there on the table. And I said, oh, wow, he's mad. And I
Mm.
said, oh, wow. So his sister came up. How is he doing? And I said, oh, I'm sorry. He's really angry.
Mm.
And I said, and you have to talk to him and tell him that he has to be appreciative of life and that he's fine. He has to let go. And this came, out of me like I knew everything all of a sudden. Oh, pardon me.
Mm.
And so anyway, I gave it to his wife, and she put this Om Mani Padme Hum up by her head. And she's Spanish, so all her family was there praying with their in Spanish in their prayer beads and all that. But she put it there on by the head where you're supposed to exit,
Ah.
when you leave. And it was while it was going on for a long time, and I was in the hallway waiting because I didn't want to take up too much space. I mean, it wasn't really my family, but I wanted to be there of service. And this man runs in the hallway crying, and he just comes to me and hugs me. And
Oh.
I hug him back, and my husband's looking, and I'm like, okay, this okay. Don't worry, you'll be fine. I just gave him some comforting words. And then he's like, oh, I'm sorry, forgive me. And he's like coughing, like, it's just, that's okay, no wonder. And my husband said later, oh, I don't know what you did, but you really helped that man.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, and then uh, Brian, then all of a sudden I said, okay, he calmed down. I could understand that, and he's fine, and he could exit. And then whoop, he went through the head. And I
Oh.
said, go to the light. I said, in my
Oh.
internal voice.
Yeah.
He was like, yes. And he went. And then I went home, and then I was like, wow. And I didn't think about it much for 3 days. Then I in the morning up in my bedroom, I came out of the shower and I have a mirror there, a big one. I really don't look in the mirror that much, but I was just, and I looked in the mirror, I said, show me how it works,
Mm.
spirit, show me, because I don't understand what happened. And it was like the whole mirror became pixelated, and down in a swirl came an energy in through me, and then through my body, through my feet, and then around me. I had this like vision that that's how the aura is, and that's how the spirit comes into your body. And I stood there and I looked and I'm like, oh God. And I look around like I had did something crime. And I looked and say, oh, did my husband see what I did? And it took me like a few days to figure out, wow, was that really a message from my higher self to show how it works when we come into body? And then I looked at the trees outside, like, wait, wow, the trees are so colorful. It's like they were waving hello. I was like,
Oh,
well, it was so
yeah.
alive. So that happened, but then after I understand that maybe now when I'm actually asking, actually stopping my busyness, I do get these messages. So that was a blessing.
Beautiful. Yeah, see,
Yeah.
I feel you've had very high lifetimes, like as a yogi, in the Himalayas and things, So these things, but you're not so much conscious of it, but you have access to
Yeah.
that, So you said, where in the next lifetime am I going to be needed? Well, I'm needed in, the LA area. I've got to be a woman. I need to have children and so on. So I met yogis in the Himalayas that could, they could precipitate objects and they didn't need to eat and they didn't age. As one yogi, he never ate the whole time I was there. He hardly slept. He made food for me, about once a week he would
Wow.
make food for me. But they didn't have understanding of women. You know what I mean? They, kind of look down on women, So I know those yogis, even they were very high spiritually, their path was not complete. They're going to come back as women to understand the other side of life.
I feel like I've been there because
Yeah.
even when I found yoga, I was so, whoa, in it. And the Yogananda book, I got that immediately.
Mm.
And, I have certain understandings that just come through me. When I was teaching yoga, I was for a moment really upset with myself because every time I got into yoga class, I saw who was there and I could really see their bodies and I could see their thought and their injuries. And I was like, so I taught according to who was there and
Yeah.
really gave a wonderful class. But, you know, I wasn't like, I thought at the time it was not a lot at all to have like 30, 40 people because the famous yoga teacher before me had like 100 or 80 crammed in. And I'm thinking, oh, why can I not be like a little more depressed? Why can I not be a little more teaching the same class every time? Because I was so happy. Like maybe they thought I was like a, like a, I used to have more blonde hair. Since the COVID, my natural hair grew out, and I'm like, wow, it's actually nice. But I thought maybe they thought I was like a dumb blondie or something, a silly Barbie doll looking thing, just being. But I do know now that I was tremendously guided when I was teaching, so I was doing my job right, even though if it didn't, you had this conflicting upbringing. Now that you're talking about how women in the world, because I was very masculine when I was young. I was very angry and I was pushing. And now, as I do my spiritual practice and being a mother, I become much more attuned and balanced in both the divine feminine and sacred masculine in my way of living. And if somebody is looking down upon a woman or judgmental, I just hold them in kind of a light. And I feel like, that's okay. You don't know, because weren't raised that way, and people can't really see beyond how they were programmed or raised unless they really practice some form of yoga, meditation, or unit. I'm so excited to hear about your practice in the Himalayas. Did they even do poses there, or where did you?
So no, these guys did not do hatha yoga.
No.
Yeah, they were kind of, he did some mantra practice and stuff, but he didn't really have a lot of practice. But you know, one of these yogis, he knew what food I wanted, and he could wave his hand and it would appear in his hand, you know.
Wow,
and it was hot, you know, without fire or anything. He didn't even, one guy didn't even have a fire. He knew what I wanted, and it wasn't Indian food. It was kind of Western steamed spinach with ghee and toasted chapatis, and he didn't eat, but he, you know, and you know, then I had Amrit materialize in my hand. You know, that was from Sai Baba, you know, but these things they showed me, they're all possible. You know, but my path was not to stay in the Himalayas. You know, it's funny because I wanted to be a yogi. I wanted to be one of the Himalayan yogis, you know, because I read Autobiography of a Yogi, and I didn't want to be in the West anymore. I don't care about having a Ferrari and a lot of girlfriends and getting drunk and all that. You know what I mean? I just want the spirit. So the Himalayas is the place to do that. And I found these yogis and they welcomed me. But then, you know, like I had a week before, or 2 weeks before my visa expired to be in India. And Neem Karoli Baba came to me in a dream, you know, Ram Dass's guru, because I spent about 6 months with him on and off. And he said, please don't die here, because you would not believe how much paperwork the Indian government has to fill out, you know. He said, if you want to leave your body, go back to the US and do it, you know.
Wow.
So the funny thing is, so I said, okay, I'm going to go back to the US, get another visa, then come back to India. But, you know, I don't know. So I went back and forth a number of times, you know. But see, my path was not to just stay in the Himalayas, was to try to bring the Eastern teachings into the West, you know, in English, you know, in a form people could relate to in a simple way, you know.
And that's what you have done. And it is so wonderful. And the way that you deliver it, and just the way you speak, it comes from the knowing, you know, you can really tell. I mean, I can tell because I can feel, hear, see it. And it's so important. And I wonder, I probably have some similar mission too. I remember as a child, I was studying this religion and that religion, and I was so enthralled with everything. And my parents, I went even to church in Sweden, where I was brought up in this little village, because I said, oh, this is so fantastic, Mom, you have to come. And she said, no, I go to the theater, I don't go to the church. And I was like, what? You know, it was definitely picked those parents that were not at all interested, and I've always been interested, and I have studied some of the, you know, Patanjali, the yogi, but I'm interested in more, and I do feel the guidance, and I have been studying lately the masters and who they are, and starting to recognize the different vibration. But the way you taught so beautifully how to bring them in and become their essence, and then shine it out through the body. Isn't that why we have a body?
Yeah, well, the body is the temple. You know, that's like, I have this church, it's called Church of the Seven Rays, but that's your body. Your body is the Church of the Seven Rays with the 7 chakras and so on. So to see your body as the temple, and these masters can reside in it. You know, I can say, I am the presence of Saint Germain. I feel his heart and my heart are one. They're kind of like a amethyst, like this. To see this in my heart, and it's just made of glass, but it doesn't matter. It's a focal point. And or I am Kuan Yin, I'm not claiming to be the incarnation of Kuan Yin, but I can invoke her consciousness. That's the essence of Tantra, to realize there's no separation. Do you know what I mean? If I put my attention on Kuan Yin, I become Kuan Yin, and then I enjoy that. I send out love and compassion and everything. Then I can dissolve that and go back to being Peter again. You know what I mean?
And I loved how you explained that you go up into your expanded self,
yeah,
you can go to your higher self, and you can expand into Kuan Yin. And then when you come back
yeah,
with essence, but you become you again.
yeah. And then I
That,
can say, Kuan Yin, I'm going to be very busy today, but would you reside over my head and bless everyone I come into contact with?
this is so
When I
beautiful.
drive, you said you had this experience in the hospital. When I drive by a hospital, I call on the healing angels to reside over the hospital and to bless whoever is in the hospital.
Yes, it's so important because
Yeah.
I didn't want to go to a hospital even before,
Oh,
because I had
yeah.
like, what do you say when you have the aversion?
Yeah, version. Yeah.
But obviously now, then when COVID hit, I was in contact with the Huntington Hospital here,
Uh,
and I was doing Reiki. I actually did it on the nurses.
oh, good. That's very good.
So because they work so hard, and then my
Oh, yeah.
Reiki, my students that I trained with and initiated, I send it to them also for an opportunity to be able, because I feel that every time you learn something, it's so beautiful to share it. Like I do my Reiki healings, I put it out on my YouTube channel. And so if somebody wants it, they can also go there and listen to that for
Maybe
free.
you could do a special program for nurses. You could, go to the hospital. When is the nurse's shift over? Just say, we're going to take 5 minutes, use the violet fire to purify and everything. Or you
Yeah.
could even do it online, have a
I'll do
special.
it. I might do a meditation on that and send it to them, and they can listen to it if they
Yeah,
want
there.
to share
When
it.
they get off their shift, they can listen
Yeah.
to it right there, or when they get home.
Oh my God.
Because,
I remember, I have to tell you, when I was driving to teach a yoga class, I
Hmm.
had found your videos like 3 years ago, and you did the initiation to the Violet Tara.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I was driving, and I remember exactly the moment when she came into my body. I
Oh,
was thinking, whoa, maybe I shouldn't be driving right
yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah.
But I love that. That is such a blessing. Imagine you have gotten that from Saint Germain. What a great honor.
Yeah, yeah, it's just amazing how these things work. And my Western material mind is somehow skeptical of some of these we call yidams. Do you know what I mean? Like in India, how could people worship a being that's half elephant, half human? Because the elephant DNA doesn't bond with human DNA, but you have to go completely beyond that
Beyond that,
and
yes, yes.
accept that this is an aspect of your own consciousness who can become very real. I had very powerful experience with Ganesh where he did remove obstacles. So the Violet Tara, it's like this book, Saint Germain told me to write it, and she has become a very real being in my life where she works miracles.
She's amazing.
It's just the
Yes.
acceptance of it.
Sometimes when I do my Reiki healings, I say, I am the Violet Tara resurrected from within. Please come forth, like you
Yeah.
have taught me. And I feel this energy coming through. And then I call upon Saint Germain just to clear out and rebalance, old hurts, karmic stuff that is the ones that,
Mhm.
ties in with other heavy energy, not the good karma, but the heavier ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Ganesha too. I have him on a picture.
Yeah.
It's my first
Yeah.
deity that I
Right
love.
here is Ganesh.
Yes. Oh, he's so wonderful. And I
Yeah.
love how he sits on the little mouse, which is the mind.
Yeah. It's very funny. An Indian woman came to my house when I was doing a workshop, And I said, let's invoke Ganesh. And she was a pundit, and she chanted the slokas to Ganesh. And, Ganesh is supposed to have a little pet rat that he rides on.
Yeah.
Now, see, it's the symbol of the great and the small, that Ganesh takes care of the big stuff, but the rat takes care of the details, the little details down to earth. Do you know what I mean? And they work together kind of like that,
I
It's
didn't
all
know that.
symbolic. But after she chanted, the next day, this rat showed up. I had a statue, a big statue of Ganesh, like this big, outside on the patio. And the next day, right at Ganesh's feet was this rat, and he stuck around for like a week, So it's very interesting. He got the
Oh,
call.
wow. That is amazing. That is a blessing.
And I
Now
had an
now
experience
I
lately.
understand why you have a small Ganesha inside your house.
Yeah.
So you get a smaller.
I had an experience with white Tara.
Really?
I do the practice to her, but then there's again the skeptical part. Is she real or am I making this up? Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
someone brought me a bouquet of flowers, and after about 3 days, all the colored flowers wilted, they all died. And I took them out, threw them in the garbage, but there was one white flower stayed there, and it did not fade. Do you know what I mean? And one day I'm sitting there at dinner 2 weeks later, and I think, why is this white flower not fading? And the flower spoke to me. A voice came from the flower and said, I am white Tara. And I went, oh, whoa. And then the flower, maybe a month that flower was there, did not fade at all. I mean, didn't droop or anything, where all the colored flowers had collapsed, So finally, there's a statue of Mother Mary outside on my patio. I took the flower, I offered it to Mother Mary. It was not in water now, it was just leaning against her. It still did not fade. It was just absolutely fresh, And then one day, after about a week, it just disappeared. It was not there anymore. It wasn't on the ground, it was nowhere, just went boom, it was gone. Because, I gave it to Mary. I said, Mary, this is for you. Poof. So
I love that. I mean, this is serendipity on a whole nother
these
level.
goddesses are saying, Peter, come on. It's time for the goddess to come back in balance now. You have to learn the mother aspect of God. You've been trained all in, the father aspect. You have to get the balance of the mother aspect too, And then very interesting thing happened. Someone abandoned a cat, and the cat came to my door, like every morning and every evening, and I would feed it, But I wanted to get it a home because it's getting cold, getting to be winter. So I found a home for it. I got an elderly couple, and they took the cat in, and about 10 miles from here. But then I felt sad because I was used to twice a day the cat coming to visit me. And then I started to feel this little heartache of missing the cat. And then I said, maybe I'm not so enlightened as I thought, because I have this attachment. Do you know what I mean? Then I realized, wait a minute, I talked to this friend of mine, Marlise. I don't know if you know her. She has a group in Santa Cruz, Marlise Cocheret, and she laughed and she said, Peter, that's the mother aspect in you. It's supposed to be attached. You know what I mean? It's okay to miss the cat. That doesn't mean you're not enlightened. Then I remember, like when Sai Baba had a pet elephant, when it died, he cried, because that's the nature of love, is you have an attachment, I mean, it's not the end of the world. You can still observe your attachment, and not let it control you, but to feel the love, that is the mother aspect, like to love your children and to want to help them,
Oh yeah, and that is overpowering.
Yeah.
It is very beautiful. It's really, I'm so.
Oh, I have two children, a boy and a girl. They're in their 30s, but I'm attached to them. I had to learn to kind of to let go. but I'm still connected with them, and I know what they're going through, and I pray for them and so on. So
Yeah. Oh, how beautiful.
life is just so amazing, like we came out of the oneness, just like Satchidananda, pure bliss, to come into duality, but along with that comes some suffering, and that's a part of it. Do you know what I mean? So to
Yeah.
be grateful even for the suffering, because it's causing us to grow and to expand somehow,
Yeah, it is so interesting. Yeah, I really feel now that once we can hold our own hearts, have compassion for our own journey, and and the suffering and the good things, then it's like you can really hold space for others too. It doesn't,
Sure.
you can really feel for them as well. Yeah. Oh, I'm so honored for taking this time with you.
Yeah,
You've been
sure.
so amazing. And I'd love to learn more of the practices. Like I
Yeah.
would love to learn more about the white Tara. I would love to learn more about whatever it is that you
Well,
practice.
it's pretty much, yeah, I can tell you about these, but it's important not to do too many different things, The
Oh, yeah.
basic practices are in the Violet Tara book. Actually, it's like a whole concise introduction to Tantra is.
How you teach it.
Hmm.
There's something about how you pull it into your heart. It becomes you, and then you share it out into the world. Like even I am the sun,
See, consciousness can be transmitted through the voice. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what yeah.
The
And
sound
that's
wave, then it goes in the ear and it goes to your heart.
yeah, I feel it, I'm like, wow, that's how you're supposed to do it. And it went there. And also you did one where I said, where you were doing an affirmation. Okay, and now you can put it into your solar plexus chakra, but then you go right back into the heart. And I said, yes, that's it. You want to learn from somebody that's very conscious.
Yeah.
And
Well, I
aware.
have a affirmation for you, a parting affirmation. Here's one. This will knock your socks off. Okay, I am a white fire being from the heart of the great central sun.
Wow, I am a
White fire being
being
from the heart of the great central sun.
central sun.
And it's going out, see? Yeah.
I love that. I'm going to say that every moment.
You just feel that,
Yeah, and the great central sun is the Metatron cube.
Yeah.
I'm so happy. Thank you for your beautiful, amazing self, for being here on this beautiful earth and shining the lights, because I feel so good. I feel so happy, and I'm so honored to speak to you. And you're so beautiful. What a wonderful man you are. That is a man to represent the man in the world. A balanced. Thank you so much for that.
Namaste.
Namaste, my friend.
You're a goddess. So
thank you.
Bye-bye.
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 Thank you, my friend. Thank you.